So let's face it, financial independence and retiring early can be so much easier in different states compared to others. Some US states are just not very friendly if you want to become financially independent and you want to retire early, while other states are extremely friendly to this kind of lifestyle. Today I'm going to give you 5 of the best states that you can live in for financial independence. But I do just want to say that this is based on objective parameters and not on subjective parameters. So what I mean by that is this is purely based on the amount of taxes you're expected to pay and the general cost of living in that state. So these are completely objective parameters. They have to do with numbers. Now it has nothing to do with how great the weather is, which is subjective to who you ask. It has nothing to do with factors such as that, like I just prefer to be in this location, whatever it may be. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that after I list these 5 states. But let's go on to number 1. And the number 1 best state to live in as far as financial independence is concerned, when we're talking about these 2 parameters, is the state of Tennessee. And that is because Tennessee has the overall lowest total tax burden, which comes to 6.18% total tax burden. And this combines anything from income taxes, from property taxes, and also sales tax as well. So combined tax burden per citizen is only 6.18%. Thanks to Tennessee, they have some pretty low taxes. More particularly, they actually have $0 in income tax. When it comes to wage taxes in Tennessee, they actually did have taxes on unearned income, such as interest and dividends, but they are actually doing away with that by 2021. But they do have one downside, and that is that they have the highest general sales tax, the highest average sales tax across the state of any other state, because that sales tax is actually Tennessee's primary source of revenue. The cost of living in Tennessee is only 88.7 on average. Now, when we're talking about the number, 100 is generally the median average across the entire United States. So on average to live in Tennessee, it is only 88.7 compared to on average in the United States, which is at 100. So on average, it is cheaper to live in Tennessee, and generally the most expensive category that you will see in Tennessee is actually their utilities, which is rated at 93.4 compared to the 100 median average across the United States. So all of these states that I'm going to list today, they are going to have a pretty low tax burden, and they're going to have a pretty low cost of living burden because that is the 2 parameters that we use to determine this list. Second on this list, we have the state of Wyoming, which is actually the least populated state in the United States, and perhaps one of the coldest ones as well, besides that big gigantic one we have called Alaska. So the total tax burden in Wyoming is about 6.47%. And that is because they have no income tax in the state of Wyoming, and they have a very low base sales tax, which is 4% statewide. When it comes to Wyoming's cost of living index, they actually have it at 89.3 on average across the state. And their most expensive category that you'll find in Wyoming is actually transportation, oddly enough, which is at 99.3. So it is almost at the average US median costs in order to get some transportation in Wyoming. State number 3 on our list is the state of Oklahoma. So Oklahoma has a combined total tax burden of 6.94%. They actually have all of the taxes of income, property, and sales tax, but all of them across the board are generally pretty on the low side. And so even though they actually do have taxes of all those sorts, their total tax burden is so low because all of those taxes individually are pretty low themselves. The cost of living index in Oklahoma on average is actually a straight 87 compared to the US median cost of living, which is 100. And the most expensive category in Oklahoma, believe it or not, is groceries at 95.4 compared to 100. Now, before I move on to states number 4 and 5, I just want to say really quick, if you're enjoying learning about states with low amounts of taxes and a low cost of living, make sure you give it a thumbs up, give it a like. It really does help me out. I really do appreciate it. While at the same time, consider subscribing to the channel because every single week we are putting out new information on personal finance, currently Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You don't want to miss them. But moving on to state number 4, state number 4 is the state of Alabama. So Alabama has a combined total tax burden per citizen of 7.36%. So it actually jumped up into the 7s compared to the previous states were, in the mid 6s. So 7.36% is the total tax burden in Alabama. They actually have state and local taxes, and that really is what drives the overall amount up. So those combined rates drive it a little bit up, but it's still generally low, compared to most of the rest of the United States. When it comes to the cost of living, on average in Alabama, the average cost of living is 89.3, and the most expensive category in Alabama is very, very surprising because it is utilities, and it is actually above the national average at 103.3. Last on this list, but certainly not least, number 5, this state is the only state on our list to actually touch the ocean. So if being close to the ocean, being close to the beach relatively is important to you, then this state should be on your list if you are looking for low taxes and a low cost of living. And this state is the state of South Carolina. So South Carolina has a total average tax burden of 7.48%, and that is because it has up to 7% income tax on high amounts of income. So I think that is what drives the average amount of taxes up, is that its income tax can be as high as 7%. But generally the other taxes are on the lower side. The cost of living index in South Carolina is 95.9, so it is less than the average across the entire United States, but not too far from it, so almost 96 out of 100. And then the most expensive category that you are going to pay for on average in the state of South Carolina is utilities, which is higher than the national average at 107.6. And so there you have the top 5 states that are best for financial independence if your only concern is lower taxes and a lower cost of living. But here's where I want to say that this particular list, as far as financial independence is concerned, is very, very flawed. Okay, I do not agree that these states are actually the best states for financial independence, because subjective measures are very important. What is going to make you happy? That is very subjective. Depending on what kind of weather you're looking for, what kind of atmosphere you're looking for. Are you looking for, a city or a country life, whatever it may be. All of these subjective measures are very important for you when you're looking to select which state to, move to, or which state to retire to, if you want to become financially independent. And so if you are looking for just states with a low cost of living and a low tax burden, these are the top 5 states for you. But otherwise, I would highly advise that you use subjective measures when you are trying to determine what state is best for you. Because the truth is that there is no US state that is best for financial independence. It is going to be highly dependent on you as an individual. Any state in the United States can be good for financial independence. And with that said, if you want to achieve financial independence and you haven't already, you need to watch this video that I created right here called How to Achieve Financial Independence in 10 Years or Less, because it is a complete guide to becoming financially independent, and it makes things super simple, and everything that you would possibly need to know is in that video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.